built a somewhat centralized nervous system, but because of the starting point,
how you going, YouTube?
Perhaps because of the different demands of their
This
lives, the
is a
result
young
less centralized nervous system than a nervous
adult
system
swamp
like
wallaby
ours. So the neurons
called
in
Whitetail.
there are many neurons
Mr.
in
Whitetail.
roughly
Young
500
Mr.
million,
Whitetail.
which is a lot. They are
As you can
much
see,
less
he's got a tear in his ear,
what we think of as the head. They're scattered through the organism,
and
in
he's
particular,
just learning
the majority of an octopus's neurons
to come up and eat my food.
themselves.
Well, that's very curious. I mean, obviously there must be neuro...
He hasn't been here,
because it's got eyes.
apart from fleeting visits,
That's right, there are eyes and
since
there
he was a
are
footling
structures
Joey.
behind the eyes called the optic lobes,
He's been off
which are some of
doing
the
his
smarter parts
adolescent
of the
Chautauqua
optic
for
brain.
about
So you
2
do
years
have-
now.
That's the respect in which evolution
I remember
has
him when he
built
first
something
left and when he first came
recognizable
back.
as a sort of a brain inside a head, a big
And
cluster
he
of
seems to be
nervous
doing Foxguard
complexity
for both
between
Fruit
the
Loop
eyes.
and Fruit Cake at the
We do
moment.
have that in octopuses. That's where a lot of
If you
the
see
smart
his
stuff
right
goes
eyebrow
on.
has
But
got a bit of a
there's this
scar on it.
strange fact that the majority
I don't know
of the
whether that was due to his
neurons
uncle
are scattered through the
Felix
body.
Fredson,
Is it an exaggeration
or
to
Fernando
say that an
Rambo,
octopus
or some other swamp wallaby.
has a brain in each arm?
Sorry about ABC Radio National
Each
Philosopher's
arm has a lot
Zone
of neurons,
in the
but
background.
That itself doesn't mean that much because they could all be controlled
But,
by a sort of central controller in the brain. I was recently sent an email by an octopus biologist in Alaska, a guy called David Scheel. David once saw some octopuses being cut
I
up
don't know whether he
while they
will
were
sit
still
still
alive,
for
and
me
the arms were being put in a bucket,
turning the radio off.
and the heads were being discarded. And he said
Hey,
that from
there's
his
more
vantage
bickies
point,
there.
you could see the
Yes, there
individual
are.
arms sort of
Reach down and
crawling
get
their
the one
way
that's beside your right foot.
underneath the bucket, as if like a
No.
whole organism.
Your right foot, mate, not your
All
left
this
foot.
suggests
Other way,
that
other way.
octopus minds
Down there.
lack the cohesiveness that human minds have, but that's something that's generally said.
Yes,
about
that's the one I
animal
mean.
minds.
Good boy.
That's right.
See?
And I think
It
if we're
doesn't
looking
take
for
constant
first
exposure to a human
generalizations about the
for a swamp
differences
wallaby
between non-human
to remember
minds and
that
human
I'm
minds,
friendly and
something
safe
about cohesiveness and integration
and to understand
probably
more or
is
less what I'm
looking
saying.
at. Here's a nice example with the more familiar animal, birds.
This bloke hasn't been in this
So
close
with humans, it's generally
before.
the case that which eye you see something with,
But he's
does not
watched
have
Fruitcake.
many consequences for your
He's seen her take
downstream
food out of my hand. Oh,
behaviour.
there's
But
a
with birds,
bowerbird's just
it's
taken his
quite
biscuit.
easy to teach a bird to solve a certain problem in a way in which only one eye is used. And then if you
Okay.
test the bird on that problem in which it is forced to use only the other eye, in at least some birds, pigeons are the ones who've been tested here, they fail the test. So the picture you get from an experiment like that is that even
Well,
with something
there we
similar
go.
to us, like a
Swamp
bird,
wallaby studying humans
it
while
looks as
humans
if
listen
there's
to the
less
Philosopher's Zone,
cohesiveness,
talking
less
about animal
integration,
intelligence.
less
Oh, look, we've
centralisation,
got another biggie.
intellectual processing.
Are you going to come over for that one?
Octopuses are perhaps an extreme case of that.
So this presumably is why they are of philosophical interest. I
The
mean,
man we're listening to at the moment is
philosophers
Alan Saunders, who
study
recently died, ABC
It's
Radio
essential to
National
think about
presenter.
not just the human mind, but a rather narrow subset of the human mind, probably living in North Oxford. But octopuses provide a far more extreme example of the way in which minds might work.
That's right.
Yes,
So
well, how do you think
you ask a question of the
a swamp
following
wallaby's
form.
mind
What are
might
some
compare to an octopus?
generalizations we might make about the nature of the mind that we would expect to hold every time minds evolved in the universe, not just our local parochial neighbourhood.
That should be a
here,
good clear shot.
but,
Side lit,
wherever complex
slightly
organisms
backlit,
with
but it's not
powerful
telephoto, is it?
processing abilities arise. Are
How
there
close
things
can
we
I get
say about every
to your face?
every mind? Then
Half a metre? That's pretty cool. Yeah, for a wild animal, that's very cool. You've never been that close to a camera before, have you? Hey?
They have neurons, just as we have neurons.
You're a lovely
The raw
boy.
materials are quite similar,
Yes, you are.
but they're far enough
You're
away
not
from
quite
us
what
that
we
we can
call
at
a
least
silverback
begin to
male.
ask these very general questions. So, for example, we could ask questions about learning rules. So, learning rules.
At some point.
would have
Thank you for the visit.
evolved independently in cephalopods and in
Isn't that cute?
vertebrates such as ourselves. So
Ciao.
in both